In today's video, we're going to be tracking multiple large storms crossing the nation, bringing about severe weather, snowfall, heavy rainfall, and big-time temperature changes. They will all pretty much feature cold fronts underneath. We do expect to be in a warm pattern for a few more days, heading into a colder pattern overall, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel as we do see signs of warming later on. So let's just dive into things and take a look, and we're just going to move past today. This video will be coming out kind of in the late afternoon, evening, so I just want to move us towards tomorrow. And we do have a weaker low, 1001, with a cold front stretching down all the way into the deep south. And what we see is, in general, thunderstorm chances up and down that cold front boundary. Might be showers for certain areas, thunderstorms in others. It really depends. However, these do seem to be heading into overall warmer and more humid areas, so I would anticipate potential thunderstorms, especially in this corridor here, from the deeper south central states in through the Gulf states and up and down this kind of Appalachian mountain range, throughout portions of West Virginia down through Kentucky and Virginia, into Tennessee, North Carolina, and as far northward as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. Now, we do see this colder air behind it, so it's this air mass right here, which is in general going to be heading eastward. So we'll track it over time, and we'll see what ends up happening, but that's by tomorrow on Friday. Or better yet, this is 2 days from now on Friday. We need to take a look at Thursday first. My bad there. So Thursday on the 18th, these thunderstorms are across the central states, like the Midwest and through the southern plains, even the Great Lakes. And that cold air is mostly for the northern plains. Then by Friday, it's over a lot of the Great Lakes, upper Midwest, northern plains there, like we just talked about. And by Saturday, it's now centered over the east for the most part. It's quite wide as we see it stretching all the way from the northern plains, still upper Midwest, Great Lakes, into the northeast there. And this is going to bring about below freezing low time temperatures, so definitely pretty intense cold for this time of year. We do have thunderstorms underneath all of this for the four corner states here: Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, through the rest of the Gulf states and southeast there. So be on the lookout for that. And then if you're on the West Coast, overall a warming trend is going to be occurring here as we see a positive PNA setting up, and this is really what's redirecting this cold towards the east. Now for Sunday on the 21st, we still have these cooler temperatures, especially in these very far northern areas across the eastern states, but really it's going to be below normal temperatures for all of the east overall. And then we have some thunderstorms and showers popping up here for the southeast. I think this one could be a little bit more showery than thunderstormy, if that makes sense, because we do see an organized low taking place. And in general, if you're nearby the low or to the north of it, there's usually a little bit more chance for just consistent rainfall than thunderstorms. So this is going to be a lot more like a wintertime rain system rather than a springtime thunderstorm system, is what I suspect at this point. And then Sunday into Monday, that's the 21st into the 22nd there, we do have overall pretty heavy raininess taking place here for the southeast. Now already by this point, some warmth is on the way, and by Monday on the 22nd, we see this warming trend return here to a lot of the eastern states here. So we're going to see overall things are warming back into the 70s and even 80s. Whereas the days prior, we could be in the 50s and 60s for a lot of these areas, with lows in the 40s and even the 30s if you're very far northward. So pretty considerably cold temperatures for this time of year. Let's take this towards Tuesday, and what we see is a low, a very weak one. It is a low, though, over Michigan taking place. Some potential thunderstorm activity, especially to the south of it here, will be a factor. From the plains here all the way through portions of the Midwest and Ohio Valley, this is the main area I'm watching for that thunderstorm activity. And by Wednesday, we see that a lot of that thunderstorm activity is now up in the northeast and portions of the mid-Atlantic. Even a few snowflakes could be seen around the Adirondacks and for other areas in upstate New York. That'll be something we're watching for, especially during the low temperatures. But here's the high temperatures on Wednesday. We see the Adirondacks, Green Mountains, and White Mountains there of New England seeing some snowfall. And this is rather intense cold air set up over the eastern states. And on the other hand, out west, this is rather intense warm air here. So your jet stream is doing something like this. Clearly a trough in the east and a big time ridge out west back there. More thunderstorms flaring up for the southern plains will be something to watch. And then by Thursday, we see it gets even worse as these are getting even more intense. And we even have a low pressure center near eastern Colorado. Now, there is some stormy conditions along the west that are developing, and I think this could pull down some cooler temperatures and be just enough push to bring this warmth towards the east. So we'll see if this ends up taking place as a result of those conditions out west. And it looks like it is. By the time we're reaching Friday on the 26th, we see cooler and cooler temperatures reaching towards the west. A lot of storms here. 1,001 up there between Idaho and Montana, 997 near Colorado. Rainfall in the lower elevations and snowfall for the very, very high elevations. Meanwhile, in the east, we have some thunderstorms flaring up from this Gulf moisture that also could bring about some severe weather chances. So we'll be watching for all of that. That's going to be next weekend. And by Saturday, it reaches further northward like the Midwest, Great Lakes, and for areas in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, still some storms taking place. Let's see where the GFS agrees and disagrees. We see this storm move out. We get that kind of cold front moving through where, again, there will be a chance at thunderstorms for the day on Friday into Saturday. Mostly here across your southeast area, we're watching as there is a marginal risk of severe weather there right now. We will take a look at that Storm Prediction Center outlook at the end of this, so stay tuned for that. But overall, we see this cooling trend really taking place on this model as well. And that cold does arrive for the east. We get that kind of southern slider type storm, kind of rare for this time of year, but again, something you would more likely see in December, January, February timeframe. We're seeing here in the month of kind of late April timeframe now by this point. We get this second storm that does have that cold front. Again, some mild severe weather is possible with that. And then here's that warming trend by the time we're reaching about Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So next weekend, what we see is that a lot of cooler air has moved towards the west. It's not as bad by this frame, but it is a little bit below normal temperatures. And then we're seeing this Gulf warmth and humidity able to work its way into the east. And I think that we could have severe weather going on in multiple different areas here, but especially across the southern plains here, some for the northern plains and even the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and into the northeast as we have a low right here. Probably a cold front stretching through and then a warm front here in the east is your setup. So again, the severe weather along this cold front would be the main area to watch, but not the only area to watch. We do see another low reform here for kind of the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. So 1,005 here. Weak cold front could have some isolated thunderstorm activity there. And then a pretty heavy warm front, which would feature probably heavy showers or persistent rain taking place across the Great Lakes and Northeast here. Meanwhile, we have pretty heavy snowfall up here for the Cascades and Northern Rockies. That's again by Tuesday on the 30th. We even get to the 1st of May here on Wednesday, and we have a storm system in the Northeast bringing some high elevation snowfall, but mostly a heavy rain event there for the Northeast. But still, warmer air is the trend across the central states and slightly over the east. Nothing too crazy there, though. And by Thursday here on the 2nd, what we see is a low up in Canada, some sort of cold front here taking place, and we could see thunderstorms and severe weather underneath that as well. And that is going to likely move eastward, 994 there over Canada. So again, stretching cold front, we would be watching for another severe weather event right there. Again, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, into the plains would be your main area to watch. And we do have a nice intrusion of cold air there right behind it. And then this warm air surging right ahead of that low. So this is kind of your perfect storm for severe weather, no pun intended. Let's take a look here at the total precipitation. And we see a little bit of an increase over the west. I would say about neutral amounts. So not above or below average, just about neutral. But definitely as you move into the Midwest and plains through the Ohio Valley, we're seeing an above normal amount across the central and some of the interior eastern states there. Whereas the East Coast outside of the Carolinas gets a little bit less than what's typical, I would say. Total snowfall, as you saw in the models, we do get a little bit here for the mountainous northeast. And then throughout the mountainous west, there is plenty to go around, of course, but still it is descending as we reach closer and closer to summer, which will be here before we know it. Here's that European AI model that we're going to use for the temperatures. Again, the warmth is prevailing, but by the time we're reaching Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we see that cold reach the East Coast, and these greens are pretty intense. That's going to be 10 to 15 degrees below normal, so there is pockets of pretty considerable cold compared to what's normal. And again, that driving force is this warmer air set up over the west. This causes the cold air to have to dive towards the east. We've seen this time and time again throughout the winter and now into the spring. And that is a big determining factor in the temperature pattern across the United States. We see a warming trend again Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here, where we get back into the far above normal temperatures throughout the plains, kind of Midwest into the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic there. So definitely warmer air is on the way. And look at that, colder air along the west. Again, big time determining factor. So when this gets cold, we see the warmth surge, and the opposite is true when we see warmer air over the west. And sure enough, we've seen this flip out west that causes the flip in the east. As we keep going, we do see that warm air prevail into the early portion of that week. We do get a bit of a cold front here for Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, which will be the 1st and 2nd of May. But there is warmer air set up over the plains, and I think this is likely to move eastward, so we should warm up pretty quickly after this one, as there is colder air kind of prevailing over the western states and western provinces of Canada, and this will likely force that warm air eastward. So we get into a progressive pattern that's moving pretty quickly. Warm up, cool down here at the end of this model, and we've been seeing this model call for that in the long range, so we'll see if this pans out to be true, or if this model maybe has a bias with these quicker moving patterns in the long range. It is a new model. It is going to teach itself using AI, which is pretty scary to think about, so it should improve if this is a problem. But yeah, pretty interesting. We're going to continue to track this model, hopefully for months and years to come. We should see improvement as well. The Storm Prediction Center Day 1 outlook, we do have in these lighter green areas a general thunderstorm risk area. There's 5 of them, or 4 of them here, better yet, and that is where we expect general thunderstorms. No severe weather is expected, but always possible, so keep that in mind. We do have 3 marginal risk areas, one in the plains there, one for Texas, and then one up there in the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic. This is where we expect isolated severe weather to be possible, and we will be tracking that closely. And then for the 2 yellow areas here, one for Kansas into Missouri, and then one for Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. That is where we expect a little bit more scattered about severe weather reports, some stronger thunderstorms in there. That's again for today on Wednesday the 17th through tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Let's take a look at 6 a.m. Thursday through 6 a.m. Friday. And we get a big general thunderstorm risk area stretching throughout the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, deep southeast, even the south central states in there, and back through the plains. So very far stretching. And again, we expect general thunderstorms in there. Darker green, expecting some isolated severe weather. And then the 2 yellow areas is where they're a little bit stronger and a little bit better of a chance at some severe weather. Day 3 here, again, like I said, we do have that deeper south general thunderstorm risk area, and then the marginal risk here from Alabama in through Georgia and into the Carolinas. We will be watching for some isolated severe weather in this area from 6 a.m. Friday through 6 a.m. on Saturday. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.